In our top stories, the foreign and defense chiefs of Japan and the United States have agreed to continue exerting pressure on North Korea to halt its nuclear and missile programs.
Japan's foreign ministry has protested claims by the South Korean president that laborers forced to work in Japan during World War II still have a right to demand compensation.
And a van crashed into a crowd in Spain's northeastern city of Barcelona on Thursday, killing 13 people and wounding about 100. And now the news in detail. The foreign and defense chiefs of Japan and the United States have agreed to continue exerting pressure on North Korea to halt its nuclear and missile programs. Japanese Foreign Minister Taro Kono and Defense Minister Itsunori Onodera met U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson and Defense Secretary Jim Mattis in Washington on Thursday. It was the first 2+2 security meeting between the two countries since the launch of U.S. President Donald Trump's administration. After the talks, the ministers jointly released a statement. In the statement, they said, North Korea's development of nuclear and ballistic missile capabilities has entered a new phase and pose an increasing threat to regional and international peace and stability. Pyongyang said last week that it's considering a plan to fire ballistic missiles into waters off the U.S. territory of Guam in the Pacific. The ministers agreed on continuing to pressure North Korea in cooperation with other countries to compel it to take concrete actions to end its nuclear and ballistic missile programs and achieve denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. They called on the international community to comprehensively and thoroughly implement the United Nations Security Council resolutions against North Korea, including the one adopted earlier this month. They strongly encourage China to take decisive measures to urge North Korea to change its course of action.
An emergency warning drill has been conducted in more than 200 municipalities in western Japan, following North Korea's plan to launch missiles beyond the country. Earlier this month, North Korea said 4 ballistic missiles will fly over Shimane, Hiroshima and Kochi prefectures before hitting waters around the U.S. Pacific territory of Guam. The drill on Friday morning targeted all 202 municipalities in the Chugoku and Shikoku regions by using the J-Alert nationwide emergency warning system. Under the system, emergency information is relayed from the central government to relevant municipalities. The municipalities then urge residents to immediately evacuate. In the drill, local officials checked whether their J-Alert equipment correctly received a test message, as well as whether it was relayed through loudspeakers in community wireless systems. In most of the municipalities, the information was successfully relayed, but in Shimane and Okayama prefectures, some of the residents who subscribed to their emergency email service received corrupted text.
Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and new U.S. Ambassador to Japan William Haggerty have agreed to strengthen ties amid rising tensions with North Korea. The two met on Friday at the Prime Minister's office. The new ambassador had arrived in Tokyo the previous day. Abe welcomed Haggerty's appointment, saying he's glad to have, as U.S. Ambassador, someone closely trusted by President Trump. Abe referred to the 2+2 talks by the foreign affairs and defense ministers and said they had a constructive dialogue. The Prime Minister added that he hopes to closely cooperate with the ambassador on strengthening the bilateral alliance. Haggerty said President Trump holds Prime Minister Abe in the highest regard. Haggerty expressed his belief that the U.S.-Japan alliance is the greatest on earth. Haggerty added that he looks forward to working with Abe's administration on building stronger ties. This week's Insight focuses on Japan's diplomacy. Today, in the 5th edition of the program, we hear the comments of Professor Kazuo Takahashi of the Open University of Japan on the outlook of relations between Japan and the Middle East, where a fight against Islamic State militants is ongoing.
イラクに関しましては、イラク地方政府、そして
In Iraq, the central government in Baghdad and the Kurdish autonomous government in the north have recaptured most of former Islamic State strongholds. But due to the precarious security situation, it's not yet possible for Japanese aid workers to operate in those areas. What Japan can do right now would be to accept Iraqi nationals from the former IS-controlled areas as exchange students or trainees and help them receive education. Japan could also help such people receive training in Iraq's neighboring nation, Jordan, where security is relatively stable. The Kurdish autonomous government is planning to hold a referendum in September to decide whether to seek independence from Iraq. Since the Japanese government has endorsed Baghdad as Iraq's only government, it cannot lend support to Kurdish independence. On the other hand, Japan has a consulate in the autonomous region. Japan will face a difficult task of maintaining close ties with the Kurdish people while keeping diplomatic relations with Baghdad intact. The Kurds underwent agonizing experiences during the rule of Saddam Hussein in the 1980s. In particular, the northern town of Halabja was attacked with chemical weapons, leaving a long-lasting emotional scar among the Kurdish people. Plans are now underway to establish sister city relationships between the town and Japan's atomic-bombed cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, where people there are still suffering from the 1945 attacks. I think this is an attempt to create humanitarian bonds between the two peoples, and such an attempt should be highly evaluated. In Syria, the Islamic State militant group has maintained its strength, and the situation on the ground remains complicated, with various players, such as the administration of President Bashar al-Assad, Kurdish forces, as well as Turkey, being involved. It's difficult to predict the future. Given that Japan maintains a channel with the Assad government, it will be able to extend humanitarian aid, at least to people living in the government-controlled areas. We should be on the alert for the possibility that former IS fighters will return to their home countries and stage terrorist attacks there. To deter such a move, a database of former IS fighters should be compiled so that their movements can be closely monitored. IS fighters come not only from Europe, but also from Asia and Africa. It's not someone else's problem for Japan. I'd like to see Japan play a role in creating the database.
In today's edition of Insight, we heard the comments of Professor Kazuo Takahashi of the Open University of Japan. You're listening to NHK World Radio Japan in Tokyo. Japan's foreign ministry has protested claims by South Korean President Moon Jae-in that laborers forced to work in Japan during World War II still have a right to demand compensation. The ministry lodged a protest with the South Korean government on Thursday. The ministry maintains that a 1965 treaty with South Korea completely and finally settled all reparation and compensation claims. At a news conference earlier in the day, Moon commented on lawsuits filed by former laborers and their families demanding compensation from Japanese companies. He referred to a ruling of South Korea's Supreme Court that said that the treaty did not invalidate the rights of individuals against the companies. Moon said that the ruling represents the government's position on the alleged forced labor issue.
North Korea's state-run media has given a failing grade to South Korean President Moon Jae-in, who marked 100 days in office on Thursday. The Korean Workers' Party newspaper Rodon Shinmun criticized Moon in Friday's editorial for eagerly following what it called the hostile policy of the U.S. It said the Moon administration's grades for its first 100 days are miserable and disappointing. It gave a failing mark for inter-Korean relations. The editorial said Moon's calls for dialogue have contradicted his actions, and dialogue and sanctions cannot coexist. A separate editorial in the same newspaper took issue with the South Korean president's speech on August 15th. It said Moon's reference to North Korea's nuclear and missile programs shows that he rejects the North and harbors hostility towards it. A series of commentaries are seen as a warning to South Korea not to strengthen its alliance with the United States.
A van crashed into a crowd in Spain's northeastern city of Barcelona on Thursday, killing 13 people and wounding about 100. Police have detained 2 men in connection with the alleged terrorist attack. They say another man who fled the scene is at large. The incident occurred on Las Ramblas Street at around 5 p.m. The street leads to a popular tourist spot, Catalonia Square. Local media report that the vehicle drove more than 500 meters on the promenade as it mowed down crowds of pedestrians. Police said they're searching for a man who has fled from the scene, but that they detained 2 men and are questioning them. Police also said that prior to the incident, an explosion at a building about 200 kilometers southwest of Barcelona killed 1 person. They suspect the 2 detained people were also involved in the explosion. Meanwhile, a news agency linked to the Islamic State militant group said the Barcelona attack was carried out by soldiers of the group. The Amaq news agency reported the attack was a response to the militant group's call to target member countries of the U.S.-led coalition.
Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has sent a message to Spain's Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy expressing condolences to bereaved families after the deadly terrorist attack in Barcelona on Thursday. Abe said in the message that he was shocked and infuriated by the attack and that he strongly condemns it. Abe also expressed solidarity with Spanish people facing difficult times. He said no terror acts can deny basic values that Japanese and Spanish people share. Abe stressed that Japan will work with Spain and the international community to fight terrorism.
An exhibition to showcase Japanese pop culture is underway in Jakarta, Indonesia. What is touted as one of Southeast Asia's largest pop culture fairs kicked off on Friday. Around 60,000 people are expected to turn out during the 3-day event. More than 30 Japanese firms, including leading toy makers, are selling plastic models and comic books at the fair. Cars and motorbikes with characters from Japanese anime and video games depicted on their surfaces are on display. These are the creations of Indonesian enthusiasts. Many people were seen taking photos of themselves in front of these vehicles. Some of the visitors were clad in costumes from popular anime production. A 25-year-old Indonesian man said he loves Japanese animes as they have good stories. He added he wants to buy some plastic models that are unavailable elsewhere. Live performances by some Japanese singers are also scheduled.
A long spell of rain and a lack of sunshine in Japan's northeast have pushed up vegetable prices by up to 50%. Rainy and cloudy conditions continued in the past weeks in the Tohoku and Kanto regions, hampering growth of some vegetables and causing delays in harvesting operations. Prices of cucumbers, green onions and green peppers from these regions are hovering high at Tokyo's central wholesale market. Officials of the Agriculture Ministry say gaps between the current prices and those of an average year are widening in the items worst affected by the wet conditions. But they add that the amount of shipments of cucumbers and green peppers will likely recover quickly once the weather improves. Finally, let's take another look at the top story this hour. The Foreign and Defense Chiefs of Japan and the United States have agreed to continue exerting pressure on North Korea to halt its nuclear and missile programs. And that was the news from NHK World, Radio Japan in Tokyo. I'm Risa Shimizu.
And I'm Eriko Kojima.
Hello, this is Welcome to Amazing Japan. I'm Sarah MacDonald. Today we bring you a rerun of a program that introduces the highland village of Kawakami in Nagano Prefecture. The show was first broadcast on September 16th of last year. Please enjoy.
Hello, it's time for Welcome to Amazing Japan. I'm Michael Rees.
And I'm Sarah MacDonald.
This program introduces the attractions of places all over the country. Today we travel to the highland village of Kawakami in Nagano Prefecture, central Japan.
This farming village grows many highland vegetables and in summer ships more lettuces than anywhere else in Japan. Our reporter is Vietnamese language service announcer Mai Hung.
Mai Hung is traveling to Kawakami village on the JR Koumi line. This is Japan's highest railway line, climbing to more than 1,300 meters above sea level. About 3 hours from Tokyo, she gets off at Shinano Kawakami Station.
Tôi vừa xuống ga. So với Tokyo thì thời tiết đây rất là mát mẻ.
It is so cool compared with Tokyo. This is real highland air. A little way from the station, I can see the light greens and purples of lettuce fields at the foot of the mountains. There are both ordinary and red-leafed lettuces, and also other crops such as Chinese cabbages. I can just glimpse farmers working in the fields as well.
Kawakami is a highland village located more than 1,100 meters above sea level, and in summer the temperature rises to only 19 degrees Celsius on average. This is why Kawakami can harvest so many lettuces in summer just as shipments from other areas drop.
Mai Hung first heads to the village direct sales center for highland vegetables. It is called Morino Eki Marché Kawakami, the Forest Station Market Kawakami.
This direct sales outlet only opened last year. It is a modern two-story glass-fronted building made from larchwood, which is another Kawakami product.
Ở đây có rất là nhiều xà lách này. Bắp cải, dưa chuột.
There are many different vegetables here. Lettuces, cucumbers, tomatoes, celery, garlic, and so on. They all look very fresh.
We are visiting in the summer holiday season, and many visitors have come from distant places to buy these vegetables. Here is a man from Tokyo.
ここよりまず畑見てまずここに来てみようと思ったってすごいなんかねレタス畑が一面広がってて
I saw the fields and decided to have a look here as well. The huge expanse of lettuce fields makes a wonderful sight. The lettuces are the main thing. They're so big and fresh.
.500 of the 1,200 households in Kawakami grow lettuces. Lettuce growing was promoted actively all over Japan about 60 years ago, when the U.S. forces stationed in Japan couldn't get enough vegetables for their needs. The new crop did especially well in Kawakami because the soil and climate were exactly right. The village's nationwide share is now over 70% in summer.
The story of how Kawakami succeeded and prospered through lettuces is also now well known in Vietnam. In fact, Kawakami and Hang's country, Vietnam, started a technical exchange program for agriculture 2 years ago. Kawakami's cultivation methods are now being used to grow lettuces in the highlands of southwestern Vietnam as well.
Kawakami Village now has cooperative ties with an agricultural university in Vietnam and is receiving students from there. Hoan Chun Tain is staying on a lettuce farm to study the growing techniques.
Mấy đầu em sang thì cũng cái cảm giác rất là tuyệt vời ở đây, không khí rất là trong lành và cảnh quan rất là đẹp đẽ.
This is a wonderful place. The air is clear and the scenery is beautiful. There's also no litter anywhere. I came to Japan to find out why the farms have succeeded. I hear that each farm has an annual turnover of more than $240,000 US. I thought the work would be easy because of mechanization, but in fact it is very hard. Lettuces need a lot of close attention. They are very labor-intensive crop.
Mai Hang goes to see the lettuce fields on the farm where Tain is staying.
She has come to the lettuce fields of Hiroyasu Hayashi. He has 4 hectares of the fields. The green lettuces spread out all around as far as one can see. Hayashi is a veteran who started growing lettuces 35 years ago. His father was one of the pioneering lettuce farmers who started it all about 60 years ago.
Hayashi picks a lettuce, breaks it in half in his hands, and offers it to Mai Hang.
Would you like to try some? It's sweet inside.
It's crisp, delicious, and sweet.
Where the lettuce is broken, we see how tightly the leaves are wrapped around each other right down to the core, and every leaf is nice and thick.
Mai Hang wants to know the secret to growing delicious lettuce and joins in the picking to find out. We are told that the lettuce picking starts before dawn. Why so early? Here's Hayashi.
夜は冷えて日中は直射日
It's cool at night and there is plenty of direct sunlight during the day. This temperature difference produces sweet lettuces. In the daytime, the climate promotes photosynthesis. At night, the coolness causes the sugar to build up inside and makes them especially sweet. It concentrates the sweetness.
Sáng mai tôi sẽ phải dậy sớm để thu hoạch xà lách nên là hôm nay tôi phải đi ngủ sớm đấy ạ.
I see. Then I think I'll have a go at picking the lettuces at night. I will go to bed early tonight.
The next morning, bleary-eyed, Mai Hang makes her way through the dark to the fields.
The fixed floodlights and headlights worn by the farmers in the fields glimmer like fireflies in the night.
The lettuce seedlings planted 1.5 months ago have grown plump and round and are now ready for harvesting.
They use a special lettuce harvesting knife about 20 centimeters long to pick the lettuces. It is nearly square at the tip, and this part too is sharpened. First, the end of the knife is slid through the base of the stalk. Here is Hayashi.
You cut in deeply in one go, turn it upside down, and then, because the leaves are attached on the outside, cut once again cleanly.
The head is cut off quickly, and then the blade on the edge of the knife is used to slice off the protrusions at the base and smooth it out. Mai Hang kneels down and has a go.
Nhìn ông Hayashi cắt thì có vẻ rất là ngọt và dễ dàng. Và những cái
Mr. Hayashi, you do it so neatly. I don't know if I'll be able to do it so well. Sorry, I cut too much there. This isn't easy.
The lettuce that Mai Hang has picked weighs about 600 grams. It is approved and packed for shipment.
Until they are packed into the cardboard boxes, the lettuces are placed upside down in the field with their cut stalks pointing upwards. Hayashi explains.
A bitter white liquid seeps out of the cut and turns brown immediately. That looks very bad. So we spray it with water to improve the appearance.
The lettuces are placed in boxes and refrigerated at 5 degrees Celsius at the collection point. They are also shipped in cooled trucks to deliver crisp lettuces to every part of Japan.
The picking stops at the first light of day at about 7 o'clock in the morning, just as the sun is coming up.
Lettuce picking is a 1 or 2 day battle, and the timing makes a huge difference in the flavor. During the half of the year when lettuces are grown, the villagers pick the crop at night and then return to the fields in the daytime to plant the next batch of seedlings. It is a very busy time for them. Here is Hayashi again.
The weather is different each year, so it's a continuing process of trial and error. But there's also a great sense of satisfaction when everything goes well. But then we have plenty of time in winter. It's cold here in winter. We cannot do anything then. So that is when we do our hobbies and recuperate. Then, in the summer, we can work our hardest again, even if it means going without sleep. I like this way of living life to the full.
Mai Hang takes the lettuce that Hayashi gave her and next heads off to a mountain lodge on the middle slopes of 2,600-meter Mount Kimpu, the tallest mountain in the village.
Không khí rất là mát mẻ. Cây cối chỗ nào cũng thấy tùm.
The air is cool here, and the mountain slopes rise up right behind the lodge. There's a narrow path with a clear stream far below. Further up again, sheer rocks rise up from the mountain slopes. I can hear the voices of rock climbers in the distance.
Mount Kimpu, where this lodge is located, is one of the most famous rock climbing destinations in Japan. There is also a campsite close by, and many people are now putting up their tents and cooking.
Mai Hang decides to make something herself, using the lettuce she got. She will have a go at preparing a popular Kawakami dish in which a hot garlic oil is poured over the lettuce. I put some salad oil and chopped garlic in a smallish pan and heat them up. When the garlic turns brown, I turn off the heat immediately and pour it straight over the roughly chopped raw lettuce.
Then she adds a little salt and it is done.
Rau xà lách rất là giòn và nhiều nước.
The lettuce is crisp, moist, and sweet. A strong garlic fragrance really whets the appetite. I feel as if I can eat this all at one go. It's easy to eat and delicious.
But Mai Hang has her eye on something else as well.
Tôi nghe nói là ở nhà sàn này có bán món kem đặc biệt làm từ rau xà lách.
This mountain lodge also sells something very special that is made with lettuce, and it is lettuce ice cream.
The soft lettuce ice cream was released in August. It is a faint yellowish green in color and contains tiny pieces of lettuce.
Ôi, mịn lắm ạ. Và có cái vị
It is smooth and has a vegetable flavor. Is this really made with lettuce? It is delicious.
This lettuce ice cream was the brainchild of Makoto Tamura, who works at the mountain lodge.
アイデアは12、3年前からありました。開発当時は
I first thought of it 12 or 13 years ago. It was hard at first to remove the lettuce bitterness and smell. We now make it by drying the lettuce and chopping it up finely. This turns it a brilliant light green. People like it, and it's selling well, so I'm very happy.
Mai Hang reflects on her trip as she gazes out upon the highland summer scenery.
Vâng, tôi chưa bao giờ được thăm thú một ngôi làng lớn như vậy, như là một thị trấn ấy ạ. Với rất là nhiều
This is the first time that I visited a village that has so many attractions. I love the fresh highland air, freshly picked lettuces, and also the lettuce dish. I also felt the passion that the villagers have for their work. They are also trying out new ways to develop their village and make it richer still. This village has campsites, mountains, and rock climbing, and also many other attractions from fishing to hot springs. I really recommend everyone visit Kawakami Village.
Welcome to Amazing Japan. Today, Vietnamese service announcer Mai Hang introduced us to the village of lettuces, Kawakami in Nagano Prefecture.
Here's how to get to Kawakami Village in Nagano Prefecture.
From Tokyo Station, first take the Shinkansen high-speed train for an hour and 20 minutes to Sakudaira Station. Changing there to the Koumi line, it takes about 1 hour and 15 minutes to reach Shinano Kawakami Station.
You're listening to NHK World Radio Japan, broadcasting from Tokyo. Here's a frequency notice. English language programs are broadcast 5 times a day. At 5 hours UTC on 11.970 and 5.975 megahertz. At 11 hours on 11.695. At 14 hours on 11.705 and 11.935. At 18 hours on 9.755. And at 19:30 hours on 9.710 and 9.480. We're always pleased to receive your comments and suggestions via mail or through our website at nhk.jp/rj.